Week 11 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 12 kickers. I'm ranking this week. The first guy, Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens. So Justin Tucker, we know he's one of the best kickers of all time already in the NFL history. Here's Justin Tucker. And this week here, another great matchup versus the Carolina Panthers that can't stop anyone. We know pretty much each and every week Tucker's good for a 50-plus yarder field goal. And this week here versus the Carolina Panthers, I think he could score anywhere from 8 to 12 fantasy points, and I got him number 1 this week, as this Raven offense will be living in the red zone. Number 2, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. So over the last few weeks, the numbers have gone up here for Tyler Bass, and that's a great thing to see, obviously. But this Bill team, they're not finishing a lot of drives in the end zone. In the last 2 weeks here, they've lost tough ball games where they had decent leads and blew it to the Jets that lost 2017, and then 33-30 in a shocker versus the Minnesota Vikings after leading by 17 points. And right here this week, I think they got to put the pedal to the metal here is this team. And Tyler Bass, he's going to get his opportunities no matter what versus a Cleveland Brown team that pretty much hasn't stopped anyone over the last few weeks here. So I got him at 2. Number 3, Daniel Carlson of the Las Vegas Raiders. So Daniel Carlson this season, top 5 in fantasy points at the kicker position. And this week here, I know he don't have the greatest of matchups at the Denver Broncos, but right here playing in the high altitude, obviously in that mile high air where he could have a good ball game, is Daniel Carlson. And like I said, this guy pretty much each and every week, he's good for 50-plus yarder, it seems like. And this Raider team's another offense. If it's Davante Adams in finishing drives off of them, they got to settle for field goals a lot as well. So this week here, I got Carlson at number 3. Number 4, Nick Folk of the New England Patriots. And Nick Folk, the last 2 weeks before the bye week, he had some monster performances. 21 fantasy points versus the same New York Jet team, and then 17 fantasy points versus the Indianapolis Colts. So right here, this Jet team, like I said, he had 21 versus them last time. I'm not saying he's going to score 21, but it's definitely a possibility. He'll get double-digit fantasy points this week here is Nick Folk. And this New England Patriot offense is a conservative offense, obviously. They don't really have big playmakers, even though I think Ramondre Stevenson could be the next big thing at running back if he just gets an opportunity to be the man without pretty much splitting carries or whatever the case. But anyway, this week here, Jet defense is good. They're bend but don't break, and I think Folk's going to have to settle for a decent amount of field goals. And I got him at 4. Number 5, Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Evan McPherson, he's a guy that last season took the league by storm at the kicking position in his rookie year. But this year here, sophomore slump, no doubt about it, missing extra points, missing some chip shots that he's hit in his sleep in college. And obviously last season is Evan McPherson. But this week, coming off the bye week, refresh, big division ball game at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think McPherson gets back on track in this one, and it wouldn't be surprising to me if he finishes in the top 5. Number 6, Robbie Gould of the San Francisco 49ers. So Robbie Gould, he's a guy that each and every week, you know, he's going to get 8 to 12 fantasy points now. Just the way this San Francisco 49er offense is playing and the way they get in the red zone. And this week here, a good matchup at the Arizona Cardinals. Well, that gives up a decent amount of points to fantasy kickers. This is an indoor game, which is obviously always a plus, not dealing with the bad weather or wind, whatever the case. And like I said, this 49er offense is a big-time offense now with all these playmakers and Kittle, McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and Ayuk, and Robbie Gould's going to get the opportunity. So playing on a great offense in an indoor game this week, I got him at 6. Number 7, Graham Gano of the New York Giants. So Graham Gano's having a great season, and pretty much his floor has been 7 fantasy points this season at the kicking position. And this week here, the weather could be windy once again, no doubt about it, and nasty out there in MetLife Stadium. But it's a good matchup versus the Detroit Lions. They're a defense that really can't stop anyone this season. And I think the Giants, at minimum, will be in the red zone at least 4 or 5 times in this game, giving Graham Gano a few opportunities. And like I said, his floor has been 7 or 8 fantasy points. Number 8, Greg Joseph of the Minnesota Vikings. So Greg Joseph, it's been a bad year for him in terms of comparing it to last season for this Minnesota Viking team. But this week here, he's got a matchup versus a Dallas Cowboy defense on most weeks, which is bend but don't break. But last week, the Cowboys gave up 4 touchdowns and only 1 field goal to Mason Crosby, even though Crosby missed a field goal early in the ball game. But anyway, Greg Joseph, it's an indoor game. This could be a shootout between these two teams in the NFC here, with the Vikings 8-1 and the Dallas Cowboys 6-3. And I think Greg Joseph could get back on the fantasy radar this week here with a good ball game versus a Cowboy defense, like I mentioned, for most weeks have been bend but don't break, where teams got to settle for field goals. Number 9, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. So a lot of people might think why I have Harrison Butker low on my list this week. But the last few weeks here, it's been plain and simple. He's been missing extra points. It's pretty much been all extra points for the most part with this high-powered Chief offense. And he's even missed a couple chip shots. So I don't think Harrison Butker is 100%. Obviously, early in the season, hurting the leg, and he was out for multiple weeks, but returned the last 3 or 4 weeks here. He just hasn't been the same. The kicks have been shaky, no doubt about it. And this week here, I know it's a good matchup versus the Los Angeles Chargers for Harrison Butker in LA in an indoor game. But right now, I'm going to keep him at 9. Number 10, Will Lutz of the New Orleans Saints. So Will Lutz, he's been a pretty solid kicker this season here, even though the last few weeks the numbers have dropped off. And this Saint offense has been hit or miss this season, but it seems like the home games have been the ball games where Will Lutz has been good. And this week here, a home ball game for Will Lutz and the New Orleans Saints with the Los Angeles Rams coming into town. And this Ram defense has been a middle-of-the-pack type of defense. I think Will Lutz in this ball game could be a guy that's going to get a few opportunities in this one. We know he could kick that 50-plus yarder most weeks pretty easily, and he kicks well at the Superdome. So right now, this Ram defense, I think, can make a few plays in this game where they're not going to get a lot of touchdowns scored on them. If they could stop Alvin Kamara and limit Chris Olave, I think we're going to see some field goal opportunities here more than not for this Saint team. Number 11, Greg Zuerlein of the New York Jets. So Greg the Leg, he's had a resurgent season here with this New York Jet team. And right now, he's going to get opportunities. Just Jet offense don't finish a lot of drives in the end zone. But they've been winning ball games all season with a lot of field goals. Great defense. And this week here versus at the New England Patriots in Gillette Stadium, I think we're going to see a ball game in the mid-teens to low 20s where both field goal kickers are going to have decent ball games. So I got Greg the Leg at number 11, and it wouldn't be surprising to me to see him score anywhere from 6 to 9 fantasy points. And the 12th and final kicker, I'm ranking this week's Younghoe Koo of the Atlanta Falcons. The last week, I think he missed 2 extra points, obviously, and a field goal in that ball game versus the Carolina Panthers. But Younghoe Koo back in his comfort zone this week here versus the Chicago Bears. Indoors, he's great at home as Younghoe Koo, but after a struggle last week here, I had to bump him down the list in this one. And this ball game could be where the Falcons are going to have to settle for field goals because their offense don't really move the football. Drake London's got to get more involved. Kyle Pitts has been a bust this season, but that's on Marcus Mariota and the play calling more than anything. But anyway, this week here, I think Younghoe Koo could have a bounce-back game. If I'm playing it safe, we're ranking him at 12 this week, so that's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking for Week 11 of the fantasy football season.